and here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
Good evening. You are taking a live look right now at Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where SpaceX is getting ready to launch another batch of 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites on Starlink Group 6-78. I am Sawyer Rosenstein, and I will be your host for this evening's launch. And you know what's coming next. Say it with me, chat. This is not your ordinary Starlink. And I was joking beforehand. This actually is a historic launch here. So yes, I will call it, you're right, Chris, historic Launch Complex 39A. Are you happy about that, Chris? Speaking of, I think Chris might actually join us occasionally here for some commentary tonight.
Yeah, you're right. That is the rules. It's a law. It is the law to call 39A with a preface historic 39A. It is. Let's face it. It really is. It's the iconic site. It launched the first missions to land people on the moon. It's had all the shuttle missions of 39A with about... Sorry, what's the percentage, actually? I'm going down a rabbit hole now. 39A's probably had the majority, I would say, of shuttle launches. Prove me wrong.
I mean, 39A was the first one operational. 39B took, 12 or 13 missions to
I'm going to Google it. Anyway, sorry, we don't want to digress. I'm going to Google it because I do think 39A dominated the shuttle program, and now it's taken over as Falcon 9 launch site. It's also had Falcon Heavy, but guess what? Starship's coming to 39A. So what a launch site.
Yeah, and I think actually Falcon now holds the record for 39A of most launches from it. It goes Falcon, then Shuttle, then Saturn V. And joining me from the field at the historic Launch Complex 39 press site tonight is Max Evans on commentary. Max, how's it going?
Good evening, everybody. It is going well, Sawyer. Any day where we get to set up for a launch from historic, quotations, LC-39A is a good night. So fingers crossed all goes well. And there actually is a lot to talk about tonight because this is the 100th launch from the Space Coast of Florida in 2025, and we still have almost a month and a half left. So it is a milestone night, and we are just happy to be here.
Exactly. And I believe is DY's out with you in the field too tonight.
Nope, unfortunately, D is not out here tonight. It is just going to be me, so sorry about that.
No apologies. We like you too, Max. You're not too bad. And pushing the buttons, pulling the levers tonight is Carson Phillips. So, as is the case, as always, if you have any questions, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight, and we will do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can throughout the evening. Chris, did you find the answer, by the way, to which pad had more shuttle launches?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the right number, though, because it's saying 80 for 39A and 53.
The math isn't mathing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound about right. But I think the obvious conclusion is 39A dominated the space shuttle program. So that makes sense. And as you mentioned, it was the initial launch site before 39B came online. So that is the answer to that, 39A. It's a rock star launch site.
And only appropriate, as Max pointed out, that the reason tonight is not your ordinary Starlink is because this will mark the 100th orbital launch of 2025 from the Space Coast, the best coast, some might say. But yeah, it's already beaten the record of last year, and they beat that record a couple weeks ago. But this will be the first time that we hit triple digits here from Florida. So that is exciting. And of course, also exciting is the fact that there is the rocket that will be launching on your screen. This, the Starlink 6-78 mission. I'm not going to say it the way I know most of chat wants me to. It's 78 for Group 6. This one, the 154th for EJ Shuttle fans out there, 154 launch of the year. Already the 10th of the month, and we are 20 days in, the 275th orbital launch this year. And again, keep in mind, 100 of those 275 orbital launches this year just from Florida. 565th orbital for Falcon 9. SpaceX's 122nd from LC-39A, which, as we pointed out, does beat the 80-ish, we'll say, because the numbers are iffy, shuttle launches from 39A. And this, of course, will be going to the southeast and land, hopefully, on just read the instructions. As you can see there, so far, this would be 141 out of 142 if it does do that. But those of you that like those southeasterly trajectories, myself included, who lives to the southeast, this is one for you. So this one, again, because of the time of year, the seas can be a little bit rougher, especially as you go towards the north, and they calm down during the winter in the southern part. So they kind of focus on the northern parts of the orbit in the earlier parts of the year and the southern ones in the winter parts of the year. Hopefully that makes sense. As for the weather tonight, Max, this is another one where it's darn near perfect.
Well, you say that. If Carson will pull my camera up here briefly. Oh, it's not. There we go. As you can see, part of the rocket is a bit obstructed, and that is because a pretty good bank of fog is washing over both the Kennedy Space Center and the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station tonight, which is not uncommon because it is pretty humid out tonight, and it does occasionally happen. But in terms of other criteria, the forecast at least says that the weather is about as good as it can get, with there being less than a 5% chance of a weather-related violation, with the primary concerns being quite literally none. So on that front, things are about as good as they can get. And also in terms of the additional risk criteria with the upper level wind shear, booster recovery weather, and solar activity, all are rated low, but are also not factored into the overall percentage for the forecast. So, but regardless, there is, besides the fog, there are plenty of skies overhead. The moon is not out, so it is nice and inky black. The stars are vibrant, and visibility, hopefully, with the fog. The fog will either make it rather pretty, or it'll make it like we won't see it at all. Hopefully, the former. But yeah, weather is looking great tonight.
You can see there on the left our camera facing over at Roberts Road, where SpaceX is building the Gigabay for Starship, with 3 of those cranes up there now. It was 2. At the bottom, you really can get a good idea of that fog layer. But as we've discussed, fog does not violate weather criteria, we'll say. I don't want to say the S word. If that were the case, nothing would ever launch out of Vandenberg. So...
True.
I say it like I see it, and I see fog, but I also can actually see the rocket from this view from one of our cameras at the hut there.
But also, I think it's worth saying that we have also had our share of fogged out launches, and I think the most painful of which was the Falcon Heavy, I guess, quote unquote, return to flight back in I think it was November of 2022 with the USSF 44 mission, where it was completely fogged out for everyone here at the KSC, and for those of us who were lucky enough to be on the VAB roof for that, it was even fogged out for us too. It was pretty nasty. But there have also been a few Starlinks here from Slick 40 where we couldn't even see the pad, and I think that's happened a handful of times now. So it's uncommon for here, but it's also not surprising when it does, because there is a lot of moisture in the air pretty much at all times.
Yeah. I mean, why did my brain just stop working there? Yeah, the 44 was cursed. That's probably why my brain stopped working. It tries to ignore all of the 44s between
Yeah.
USSF 44 and the fog, and also
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. It's too painful. Don't say it.
Delta Port Heavy with
Ugh.
NROL 44.
Yeah, that one hurts.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out which one it was. There was one at the end of 2021. Max, I don't know if you remember this one, or if you were there at that point. It was
I know exactly what you're going to say, but go ahead.
There was one where the fog rolled in, you couldn't see anything the whole morning. Then, about 3 minutes before launch, I remember finally just being able to see the tip of the rocket. I didn't even have time to focus my camera right away, but then it cleared the fog and was gorgeous. I think that was what, end of 2021, was that?
Yeah, that was right before I came to Florida back when I was still living out of state for the STP-3 mission, which was the Atlas 5551. That was a Starlink mission actually launching right at sunrise. So I think that was a week or two before that. So yeah, that was one of the rather pretty ones. And one of the reasons why I'm so salty about the Falcon Heavy that was fogged over is because those of us who were on the VAB roof, up until about 15 or 20 minutes before T0, the fog layer was just high enough to pretty much cover the entire rocket, so all we could see was the lightning tower on top of the FSS, or the big black tower you see on the left hand side of Falcon, and the very top of the Starship tower. And so we would have seen Falcon Heavy rising out of the fog, and it just would have been absolutely killer imagery. But of course, a second layer washed in, and we couldn't see any of that, unfortunately. But yeah, a fog either like makes or breaks your viewing opportunities here in Florida.
It very unpredictable, but again, still more predictable than Vandenberg. I'm trying to find what launch that was. It's going to drive me nuts as I keep looking for it. So while I look for that number, so I don't lose my mind, Max, I saw someone asking a question of Starlink Group what? I know what they may be trying to get us to say in part of that, but for those who don't know, what is the point of the numbering, and what does 6-78 actually mean?
Well, essentially, Group 6 is the sixth assigned shell in the entire Starlink constellation, and just because it's Group 6 dash, let's say in this case, obviously tonight it's 78. A few days ago, I think it was 93 or 94, and then a few days before that, it was in the high 80s. Those are just the assigned missions in that shell, but they don't have to necessarily launch in that order. So I guess this is the 78th assigned batch of satellites in the Group 6 constellation, but they don't launch in order all the time. So although it's worth noting that the Group 6 shell has been launched into, I want to say, for almost the last couple of years. It has been a rather large and pretty consistent constellation. Obviously, as I just mentioned, some of the mission numbers are getting into the mid 90s now. I think 94 is the current highest, and then we have higher assigned missions coming soon. But essentially, that's the TLDR version. Well, as per usual with SpaceX, the actual naming and numbers assigned don't necessarily mean a whole lot, and that they aren't always in order. But hopefully, you get my drift, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. The numbering, though, definitely does not. And Chris, you and I can attest to the fact that when it comes to Shuttle, the ordering makes no sense whatsoever when we're trying to plan out Shuttle Sundays or talk through all of the order.
No, it started off really well, but then we got into those delays and switch rounds, and it only gets worse from there. I think it ends quite well with the pretty much the run through return to flight and the ISS assembly missions. But my word, yeah, these missions we're on right now, we're going backwards in some points because it is just a case of reordering. But yeah, it's interesting to say the least, and I think it's not surprising that we lose track of Starlinks, not because of the numbering, but because there's so many of them. They are launching at a frequency I never dreamed of. I mean, sorry, we go back to Shuttle. We assumed probably a launch every 3 months was a busy year. This is crazy cadence now.
It really is. I mean, I'm glad we're at this higher cadence again. But yeah, I don't think we would have ever gotten to the fact that this is, again, Group 6 Flight 78. That's not the 78th Starlink ever or anything like that. So absolutely wild. And I remembered the mission number for that. I knew it was a big deal because it was the first ever launch back in 2021 of the Group 4 missions, or shell, the fourth shell, basically. It was 4-1. That was right at sunrise on the Space Coast. It did have that fog layer that cleared, and also giving Carson a little bit of time because I found a photo that I took from it. It was really cool of it rising out of the fog. And while that's happening, let me thank a couple of people here really quickly. Laura becoming a Red Team member, James becoming a PadRat member, And Shazbert coming in with their opinion on the whole coast debate, saying Gulf Coast, best coast. Ooh, we got an from Max. That's the photo, by the way, with the fog underneath. You can barely see the, I think that's the ASOC over to the left, or one of the Atlas buildings over there.
Does that class as a site of flex? I think it does.
Classic. It's got to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually taken by me. That is a remote camera that I set up behind myself as I was taking the launch shot.
Yeah, it's a flex.
Okay, fair enough. But Max, what's your on the Gulf Coast, best coast, as someone who has been out there many times?
I mean, I love Starbase. I love the whole area. It feels like you're on a different planet, but it is because it's so isolated, it can get pretty exhausting while you're there. And certainly the flight cadence, obviously down there with Starship right now, is nowhere near what we have become used to here on the Space Coast of Florida. So it's cool to be there around around a launch campaign for any vehicle, but if you're sort of in between campaigns and there isn't a lot going on, it can get tiresome. It also gets tiresome here in Florida, but that's because we are launching rockets all the freaking time. And tonight it will be the literal 100th of the year just from Florida. So yeah, that's why I say Gulf Coast. I love Starbase, but Florida is home, and not we launch more often. We launch more rockets. We launch people, and Starship is hopefully coming here in either mid or late next year. So Starbase will not be as exclusive in terms of actually being able to launch Starbase here soon. So that is all coming to Florida, and also it's just a lot nicer here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've not been out to Starbase, so I cannot attest. But I having been to the West Coast for other events and seeing launches from the East Coast, I mean, East Coast, best coast, in my opinion. Well, at this point, we are 44 minutes away from launch tonight, and one thing we haven't talked about yet is the booster on this one. And tonight we have booster 1080 on the docket for this launch. So this one has a long history, starting with some pretty big missions and carrying people, actually. Its first flight was Axiom 2. It also launched the Euclid telescope. It then brought up crew on Axiom 3. It was also the resupply mission for SpaceX CRS-30, for NG-21, the Astra 1P SES-24 mission, and then, of course, a whole bunch of Starlinks, including 6-11, 6-24, 652, 662, 1010, 669, nice, 12-1, 12-2, 12-4, 10-12, 680, 675, 1032, 1016, 1030, 1015, and tonight, 678. Which, yes, the logic in there that it launched 680 before it launched 678. And that was back in March. And as pointed out, just read the instructions. Is the drone ship located downrange with Bob set to scoop up the fairings after they separate and float back down? And we've got 405 total satellites delivered from this single booster. Talk about a workhorse and a beast. Let's see here. We are about 42 and a half minutes to go. So, Max, do you mind talking us through what we can expect coming up here in the countdown? Because we're getting towards some of the first big milestones.
Indeed, we are. So essentially, right now, the SpaceX launch director based over at Hangar X here at the Kennedy Space Center is doing an electronic poll verifying that all systems on the vehicle and on the ground are going to be go for propellant load. And if that is the case, and the go is given, that should take place at T-minus 38 minutes. And assuming that happens at T-minus 35 minutes, stage 1 RP1 liquid oxygen and also stage 2 RP1 load will commence, and we should see evidence of the first stage prop load hopefully around T-minus 31 or 32 minutes is when we normally see the first signs of frost building up on the bottom of the stage 1 LOX tank. Assuming all goes well there and they are commencing that. Maybe not from my camera right now because there is a bunch of fog, but from this camera, we should hopefully see a massive cloud of vapor coming out of the transporter erector at T-minus 20 minutes and 25 seconds here because they are launching from 39A. And that is when they begin to thermally condition the lines in the transporter erector in preparation for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading. And assuming that all goes well, that should stop at about T-minus 16.5 minutes, and that will be our actual visual indicator that stage 2 LOX load is underway. But before we do that, we have to actually have the go given from the launch director, and that will take place in just over 3 minutes, or just over 3. Yeah, no, under words, just under 3 minutes time. Good lord. So yeah,
Math is hard. Don't worry.
Oh God, I'm telling you, Miss Sawyer, these late night Starlinks do take it out of you sometimes. But yeah, we are coming up on that milestone rather quickly. But it's also worth noting that we do still have a decent amount of time left in the launch window. And to be precise, the launch window closes at 2:01 a.m. So we are still early in the window. Should SpaceX deem that they need more time to either check out the vehicle or check out the ground systems. But from what we can tell, at least with the weather, there is a less than 5% chance of a weather-related violation, minus the fog, which doesn't really go into the forecast, but it does for us, at least for our Mark 1 eyeballs. So yeah, that's all coming up quick.
And there you can see it on the Next Spaceflight website, where we have all of that timing out there for you, including the beginning, end of the window, how far in it is, the weather forecast approximate percentage, which we can't say greater than 95% on that, so that's why it rounds it up to 97% as between 95, but not yet 100, so it goes for the middle there. And if you actually are using the app as well, you can actually find some more detailed trajectory details using data from flightclub.io to actually visualize what it looks like and where you might be able to see said launch, in addition to all the other fun facts and things, and the ability to watch the streams. So if you ever forget, you can get notifications before launch and just hit the watch live stream button, and here we are. Hey, there we go. It's Next Spaceflight, in Next Spaceflight, in Next Spaceflight, in Next Spaceflight.
Inception.
Yes.
I must say, sorry, it's an absolutely wonderful site. We really rely on it with the scheduling and things like that. But it's improved. The team behind that do an amazing job, not just from data input, but also from just making it something special now. It really is an all one-stop shop for if you're going to a launch, or if you're looking forward to a launch, or if you just want to get an idea of what launches are coming up. It's really, really great.
It is. And also, I have the little widget on my phone screen, so it'll actually show you whatever the next launch is in the world right on your little screen. And again,
Nice.
it's not a plug. I use it all the time just to see, oh, is there a launch today? Oh, cool. Oh, wait, crud, I'm working that one. Oh, I got to start getting ready. Anyway, Laura asking here, what is the expected lifespan of a Starlink satellite? Now, typically the lifespan of those is about 5 to 7 years, and part of why they are launched into such a low orbit is the fact that they do decay pretty quickly. That way, if anything's wrong with them, they'll burn up. It's less space junk in theory over time, because that's been one of the big things that has been the major focus now, is all the Kessler syndrome and basically running out of space in space, ironically. So for a while, it was just, all right, just dump your stuff wherever you want. Now it's you either have to have a way to enter a specific graveyard orbit, a specific way to deorbit your satellite manually, or have it re-enter within X amount of time on its own. And I mean, Chris, back in the day, it was just you launch whatever, wherever, and now we're paying the price.
Yeah, I mean, this is I think everyone is forward thinking now, not just from a way they can dispose of a satellite that's come to the end of its lifetime, but also there is still that technology being demonstrated and tested out where they can try and manually remove space junk and also resurface, which I think is one of the more interesting things, because if you've got a satellite that is pretty much still working, it's just run out of fuel, if you can refuel it and get it an extended lifetime, that's even more of a bonus for that company involved with the satellites. So I think there's a lot of technology that will help out the problem of space junk going forward. But the new satellites that are launching now, especially with the frequency of them, they're all got that in mind. What do we do with this when it comes to the end of its lifetime? So I think it's a good path forward for humanity, because we don't want to really ruin low Earth orbit when we're going to be launching to the moon and Mars.
I mean, yeah. It's also not like we have a winged vehicle that has a robotic arm that can go up, grapple a satellite, and bring it back, and then relaunch it again after it's serviced or anything.
See, people say, "Oh, I'm glad the space shuttle's retired," but hey, you know what? It could do so many things. Yes, I know it was dangerous, expensive, and it was unreliable, but apart from that, it had some great capability.
Yeah, that is true. And there's a bunch of companies now working on ways to either grapple satellites to deorbit them or try and, have refuelers go up there. They've been working on those honestly for about a while, for a while now. As long as I can remember, there have been pitches and ideas and things. I can't wait to see the first one actually operational and be able to save satellites that otherwise would just be more junk, especially some of those earlier days ones that amazingly, 30, 40, 50 years later are still working. Uh, in terms of the number of flights for a booster, 98 Central is wondering what is the current reuse limit certification at for the boosters? And Max, I mean, at this point, they made it past 30, so seems like we're heading towards 35 or 40 at least.
So the actual stated goal from I think it was both Kiko Donchev, VP of launch for SpaceX, and John Edwards from SpaceX. I think Elon also said it as well. The current milestone to get Falcon certified up to is 40. So we are almost there with one booster, which is the current fleet leader, booster 1067, currently holding at 31 flights. But that is the current milestone that the Falcon team over here in Florida is working towards. I think that they absolutely can do it. Falcon has proven to be a remarkably reliable and robust vehicle for either downrange recoveries or any RTLS or return to launch site recoveries. And it can send light stuff far. It can send heavy stuff pretty far too, and also send the light stuff pretty. Yeah, I already had that said. Brain is all over the place, but yeah, Falcon is an absolute workhorse, and they want to keep flying it for pretty much as long as they can. I know they aren't producing Falcon 9 boosters as much as they used to because reuse has become such a huge part in having your boosters assign certain missions or flying certain payloads, and so on and so forth. But yeah, 40 flights is the current milestone, and we will hopefully get there next year. Maybe I'm not sure. Depends on what they are able to pull off cadence-wise next year. But there are plenty of boosters currently above 20, and in the booster that is flying tonight, 1080 is on its 23rd flight, which is what tonight is. So Falcon 9 boosters are racking up flights really, really quickly, and we should be at the 40 flight milestone before we know it. Beyond that, I honestly don't know. A lot on the booster has to be refurbished in between flights, mostly with the Merlin 1D engines because of the fuel mixtures they use between the Carolox mixture with the RP1 and the LOX with coking because it runs a fuel-rich open combustion cycle. But yeah, I think 40 is the current target, but beyond that, we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if SpaceX decides to go, hey, you know what? We're going to push past 40 anyway and try for 50. Shuttle was originally supposed to be certified for 100 flights per
Yeah.
orbiter.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
You know what? You know what really gets me, Sawyer, is the economy of scale here. Because if you look at its, you were reading off its previous missions. I dare say Axiom 2 probably paid for the vehicle, and then everything
Probably.
after that is about resurfacing the propellant, the personnel involved with the launch control center, which is minimal cost when you think about the alternative of buying a brand new vehicle each time. I would not be surprised if the overall cost of the actual manufacture of the vehicle was covered with the Axiom 2 launch because of the commercial nature of that. It's incredible, really, when you think about it. And you wonder why SpaceX is so successful at it. They must really be proving out on the financials.
yeah, and it also did Axiom 3 as well. So if Axiom 2 didn't pay
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
And then don't forget there was also all the NASA missions and that was all part of the contract as well. So you could see there just Axiom 2, Axiom 3, CRS-30, Euclid. Those are some high profile missions. So, but yeah, as you pointed out, NASA contracts versus privately paying for them through Axiom. Probably pretty well paid for. Which on this booster now we can clearly see some of that frost at the bottom of the vehicle, which means they have begun fueling. And with that, they are officially committed to the T0 that they have set currently, which is 10:39 p.m. Eastern Time and 30 seconds. So as a result, with the super chilled propellants that they use, they don't have enough of the commodities to be able to hold if something were to come up in the countdown. So once they commit, they commit. If for any reason they have to stop the count, that would stop the launch attempt for this evening. So as you can see there, Stage 1 getting RP-1, Rocket Propellant 1, the refined form of kerosene, and LOX, liquid oxygen, loaded into it. Meanwhile, Stage 2 starts with the RP-1, which is a slightly warmer temperature than the LOX. Again, still cold, but warmer in comparison to the super chilled liquid oxygen. And then that will continue to load until T-minus 20 minutes and 25 seconds, because LC-39A is weird, and that is when we will see the best vent. And the LOX load will begin at about 16 minutes to go until launch. Now, talking about cadence, by the way, of the boosters, them continuing to add more, they're also shifting them around between coasts for different refurbishments, things like that. Even today, our team over at McGregor caught this. Check this out, a wrapped booster on its way through McGregor. So it doesn't seem like that would be a new one, but maybe they're bringing in an older one for testing. Maybe they're just passing through on their way over to McGregor. But, I mean, these things are constantly moving all over the place. And also, you never know what you see on McGregor Live 24/7, so it's always worth checking out the live feed that we have over there. But just, you're talking about the scale of things here. I mean, check that out. It's a totally wrapped booster just hanging around.
It's incredible. I like the camera position we got there in McGregor now, because we did move the cameras based on the tripod stand being retired. So we wanted to focus on the new Raptor stands, which we've now got great views of. But the bonus is the road there they use SpaceX means we get to see boosters rolling down the road like we just see there. But also Raptors. We're seeing 4 Raptor 3s a time now on trucks rolling past. So the Raptor 3 cadence is picking up big time, and we're visually seeing it.
It's so cool to see them go by. Again, there's so much that passes by between Falcon hardware and Starship hardware. It really is cool. So we've seen Stage 2s, obviously Stage 1s, as you can see there. We've seen Raptors, we've seen Merlins. It's unbelievable. It's a little town near Waco, Texas that most people forget about. Let me take a moment, because I don't want to forget the people that are being very kind and generous with their support tonight. ODST Moody with the $5 super saying, just made it to one of the bridge viewpoints, excuse me. First launch I'll see in person. Thanks for the live coverage, so I'm up to date. Absolutely. I mean, first launches are always exciting. To us, sometimes it's like, oh, it's just another Starlink launch. But they're all still so special. And, Max, it's one of those where we almost kind of take it for granted, but then you stop and realize and go, this is kind of cool. And I love seeing people out for their first launches.
Yeah, absolutely. And whenever we hear about someone who's here watching it for their first time, it puts it all into perspective, because, like you said, Sawyer, we see this all the time. It's almost like plane spotting out of Orlando now that they fly so common now. But that doesn't take away with how special each mission is to watch, even if it is just another Starlink. Because also, if Falcon is launching at night, it's basically an artificial sunrise. It's so bright. So for this to be your first one, I'm super happy for you, Moody. Thank you very much for coming out and talking to us on stream, because there is going to be a lot to look at tonight, hopefully, if it goes off in just under 28 minutes from now.
Absolutely. It's quite a view from anywhere around the Space Coast. If you're talking about, I'm guessing that would be near the Max Brewer Bridge area, if that's what we mean, bridge points, or one of the ones on 528. Either way, both spectacular spots. Hopefully you get to enjoy it. And my one suggestion to you, and I give the suggestion to everyone who's at their launch, especially the first, don't worry about the camera. If you can set up a camera and leave it behind you, sure, cool, that's fine. But don't be there sitting with the camera up to your eyes or to your face or trying to film it with your phone. There's nothing like experiencing it yourself. We always say there are people out there whose job it is. This is what people told me back in the day. There's some people out there whose job it is to take photos and videos of the launch that will get something better than you could ever do. Now I'm one of those people, so it's a little weird. But this is one of the guys who worked in the white room for Shuttle, one of the closeout crew there. And they're right. Just experience it with your Mark I eyeballs. Just enjoy the moment. And of course, we'll have the live video replays that you can always watch after. It'll be on YouTube forever, so you can go back and watch it at that point, but just enjoy it.
I will say, Sawyer, I think it's probably a nice little thing that we could do with chat right now to be interactive and just ask them what their first launch was, if you've been to a launch yet, as the example of the question there, this person's first launch. But I did catch something by my eye. I wonder if you know the answer to which orbiter was involved in this one. Naroom Star Rider says the Hubble repair mission was my first launch. Sorry, I wonder if you know which orbiter that was.
Which one? The first repair mission done by the best orbiter, Endeavour?
Yes, that's right. Yes, well done.
Or are you
I thought
talking
you'd
about
like
the
that.
most recent one done by one of the best orbiters, but not the best in my opinion, Atlantis?
Well, the last one, HSM4, was done by the best orbiter, which is Atlantis. But I thought you'd like that one because that person had actually seen Endeavour launch on the rescue mission. That was one heck of a mission. We're going to be coming up to. I think we're not too far off the Hubble launch with Discovery, and then that's when they get the data back saying, "Uh-oh, the images are not in focus. There's a problem here with the mirror." And it was just a slight problem with the mirror, but it was enough for it to be ruined if they didn't repair it. And of course, then they sent Endeavour up, and they did repair it.
Yep. Yeah, I believe it was Endeavour, Columbia, and Atlantis were the ones that ended up going up for the 5 different repairs. And of course, it was deployed by Discovery.
Indeed.
Let's see. I'm seeing people, and I'm trying to just remember that. Thomas saying it was Bob and Doug's launch, so DM2. Starship Flight 6, Crew 7, which I think was Kevin Michael Reed's first launch, if I remember rightly. Starship Flight 10, STS-125, so there's your other Hubble repair. John Glenn's mission, very nice, on Shuttle. SN10, STS-92, ooh, there's a fun first mission, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. It's on next space flight too, STS-31. There you go. Oh, it doesn't say the best orbiter, though.
Well, no, because next space flight's factual. It doesn't want to sort of like ruin things by doing personal favoritism.
Well, that's kind of my shout out to all the people over at the Discovery fan club.
Yeah. Still not Atlantis, that's the point.
True. Oh, well, it's not Endeavour either. But yeah, that's 2 away, by the way, in terms of Shuttle Sundays when we get back to those. We have one more DoD mission and then STS-31.
Yeah.
Someone else said STS-118. Oh, the first educator in space, as they did that with Barbara Morgan, which was the first launch that I ever followed from launch to landing.
Nice.
My first launch in person, many people have heard that, was STS-130, which was Endeavour, best shuttle, middle of the night in February, surprisingly cold for Florida, but I will never forget how amazing that was.
I will say, I'm keeping a close eye on the T-minus clock, so obviously we don't talk over the T-minus 20-minute event, but it is fun because we do remember, a lot of us remember, that it was the early days of the internet where you could just start following launches on the internet with the Real Player, which is a terrible 56K modem version of like YouTube. It really was terrible quality, but that was the best. It was like amazing at the time because it was like surreal that we could watch live launches. We're quite spoiled now these days, and not least thanks to the likes of Max going out there with the camera and our Space Coast Live cameras installed there at the press site. We can watch this live on the internet as if it's just like normal TV. Back in the day, this was not even something thinkable. So it really is kind of like a real realism point there to realize that we can now all watch these launches anywhere in the world on the internet.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. First it was NASA Select, but when I started, it was already NASA TV at that point. And used to have I remember I used to have it as a little thing that you could dock on the taskbar in Windows Vista, I think it was, or Windows XP, and it would dock itself there and just be a little window in the bottom corner of your screen the whole time, and I would have that on during all the shuttle missions.
I go back to Windows 95.
Lord.
My first was Windows 95, and then we had Windows Millennium. That was that was something. Anyway, now we all feel old. Let me also thank Ninja Decimator Pew 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 for gifting 5 Red Team memberships as well. Very much appreciate that. But man, there's some cool launches in there. You know, the people that were there for the Apollo missions, I'm a little jealous of that. And yes, all the people coming in, oh, mine was Windows 3.1. Cool, yeah. I like having an on-screen interface, personally. Okay, we are about 21 and a half minutes to go until the launch of the Starlink 6-78 mission. I do like that it is 678 in a row there. It's always just the fun numbers of this. And also fun, for those who haven't heard, the 100th launch from the Space Coast orbital, I should say, for this year. And we are coming up onto one of the best vents shortly here as we slowly drag out all of the commentary that needs to last another 28-ish seconds here until we start to see the vent forming on the transporter erector here at, I'll make sure I say it, historic Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Nice to actually not see one from Slick 40 after having one from there just a few days ago. But as we pointed out, at 39A, for some reason, as you can see there, the 20-minute, 20-second vent is more like the 20-minute, 30-second-ish vent, which, Max, what is this 20-ish vent, we'll call it, for this?
So that vapor is evidence of SpaceX beginning to flow liquid oxygen through the plumbing in the transporter erector in preparation for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading in the form of thermal conditioning. Because the last thing you want to do is flow any sort of super chilled or cryogenic fluid through any sort of material or plumbing that is not either at or very near the same temperature as said fluid. Otherwise, you risk flash gassing, and when that happens, the gas or fluid rapidly expands, and that can crack your plumbing and cause all sorts of issues, whether it be in the transporter erector or perhaps somewhere in your engine if your engine is not properly conditioned, which makes a bad day for a bunch of people, and you don't want that, of course. But as we are seeing now, that cloud is pretty thick, which is evidence that there is already a lot of moisture in the air. But you don't need me to tell you that. You've probably already seen the fog aplenty on my camera alone tonight. And it is more or less falling straight down to the ground. Really, the air is pretty stagnant here tonight, and there isn't really even a breath of wind. So it's calm, it's peaceful, it's quiet, but hopefully in about 19 minutes' time, that is all going to change rather rapidly.
Exactly, 19 minutes from now, and the fog, it's about the same level, huh?
Just about, yeah. I mean, it's been coming in and out. I think the highest I've seen it get on my screen was up to the interstage, which is really, really high, like borderline risking not seeing the rocket at all. But it comes and goes in waves, as we have seen so far to this point. And right now, it is at a low point, and hopefully it stays that way up until past T0 and Falcon 9 can climb out of it. But it's Florida, and the weather can change rather quickly, and so can the fog itself. So we'll wait and see.
And you can see from the flag there, basically no wind at all, but you can also see the fog rolling
Yep.
through at the bottom of the flagpole, which is really neat. Now, in terms of humidity, Max, is this one where you need to put the hand warmers on the lens to avoid them fogging over, or is it just wet feeling?
Well, I was driving in Sawyer and coming up the main road through the Kennedy Space Center, which is Route 3 or the Courtney Parkway, and coming right towards the press site. It was completely fine when I got here. I think I got here around 7:45 this evening, so not too early. But it was cool. It wasn't cold, but there wasn't any fog there. And then I made the right onto the Saturn Causeway to come to the press site, and almost immediately I hit a wall of warmer air, and all of my windows fogged up, and I could feel it with my hand outside of my driver window that it was a lot warmer suddenly, which led to everything fogging, and that was more or less how the air stayed and currently is. So I have about 4 or 5 hand warmers on each camera lens that I have out right now, because the fog will certainly ruin your camera's view pretty quickly. So will any moisture. So yes, hand warmers are on both cameras.
Yeah, that's something most people don't know is that when it does get that super thick and humid out and that wet, uh, your camera will fog up and it will just be wet on the lens or foggy. So you have to give it some time to adjust. And a lot of times that means literally taking hand warmers that you would stick in your gloves and just either using rubber bands or Velcro or tape or whatever and stick them to your lenses so that the temperature is more closely aligned with the rest of the outside temperature, and therefore you get the clearer views that we see here. Some of those fun tricks that people don't realize goes into trying to shoot a launch. Yes, like someone said, just like when your glasses fog up.
And also, like from this camera view alone, that like black bar at the bottom where the view suddenly obstructs, and it looks like I've just framed the rocket rather poorly with all that dead space. No, that's all just fog, literally blocking the bottom of the launch pad there with the transporter erector, the FSS, and the bottom of the rocket. So normally there would be something to see there, but obviously that black line looks like there is something in front of the lens, but I promise you there isn't. So that is how just I think in flux our view has been tonight. As I said earlier, just a bit ago, the fog has gotten up, at least from our perspective, up to the interstage. But right now, it is being kind, and we can see most of the Falcon 9 rocket's first stage, and hopefully it stays that way. But also, this camera is up on top of the hut, as we call it here, about maybe 45 or 50 feet off the ground. And you can see all the way down the rocket there, all the way to that concrete, dare I say, pad at the very bottom there, and that's all it takes is just that little bit of change in viewpoint. So, yeah, right now where I am more or less on the ground, there is some obstruction, but up high, obviously there is not. So we will see if that holds up or not.
And again, it could make for some visually stunning shots. So stick around 15 minutes from now. And Danger Moo, Apocalypse Cow, thank you coming in as well with 5 gifted Red Team memberships. Now, one thing I feel like we have to talk about as we hit the 15-minute mark before we continue talking about Falcon 9, which you can see there with the vent gone. That means that liquid oxygen load should be underway on stage 2 as RP1 and LOX load continue on stage 1, is the blue elephant in the room. Blue Origin, obviously we had some big news coming out today, and we will talk a lot about that on the Flame Trench. There was also a Breaking Space video in the works going over the whole 9x4 that they're discussing, which is a new variant that will have 9 engines at the base of it, and 4 upper stage engines as opposed to the 7 and 2 that they currently have. So that is going to be very exciting. But also exciting is the fact that we had the booster coming back. And I saw a question here from Gabriel asking, why is Glen Stage 1 transported to LC-36 for refurbishment instead of Rocket Park? Well, they have their horizontal integration facility there. So I wonder if maybe they're kind of taking it back to take a look at it near where it launched from, near where they integrated everything. I don't know if we know exactly why, Max, but we were able to see it, actually, you at least were able to see it today as they were rolling it back into the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station gates.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was talking to somebody from Blue this morning, and I was under the impression that it was going to be going all the way north again and cutting across the VAB and eventually back to Rocket Park. But I was talking to her, and she said that it was going back to the IF, as they call it, or it's not the horizontal integration facility. It's just I can't say it without stuttering. Good grief! It's just the IF. That's all they call it.
Integration facility.
Yes, thank you, Sawyer.
You're welcome.
And I think it's difficult to tell from pictures on the outside, but there is a ton of room in there, and I think they can accommodate up to, I want to say, 3 GS1 stages in there, and so there's more than enough room to accommodate technicians and any sort of equipment that they might need to refurb boosters. So that might end up being where they actually refurbish them. So, because the factory over in Rocket Park, while there is space in there, there isn't a ton of space for, say, a fleet of boosters. At least right now. So I think the factory will remain obviously where they build brand new boosters, and then at least for the time being, the IF over at LC-36 will remain the hold point for booster refurb operations. So we will see when this one flies again. I don't think at this point it's an if, it's a when, because Dave Limp, I think, has said that they want to refly this booster. It's just a matter of what flight it's going to be. I don't believe personally it's going to be flight 3 or flight 4. It might be flight 5 and beyond, because they have said that they have more than one more GS1 on the way. So but either way, very exciting future for New Glenn, and I think a much needed update for those of us who have been following the New Glenn program for years. I think this is the most information we've had on it and its future in years. This Blue has been not very transparent about their operations and what they do with their vehicles and what their futures might be. So to have all of this information released within the span of a week after the rocket's second ever launch and first ever landing is honestly quite the treat.
Exactly. And those were some of your shots that we were looking at from today, Max, of just how clean that thing looked afterwards. I mean, there's a couple little marks where some paint was damaged and, a couple little darker spots, but the Comet thermal protection, all of that looked pretty good.
It really did, and that really reinforced the point of it's not an if, it's a when this booster is going to fly again. There obviously were some marks on both the flaps on the forward module, which is those four flaps they use to help orient the booster. And then obviously on the strikes they have on each side, because they generate so much lift, they were probably flexing in a way to bend the tanks ever so slightly, hence why some paint was lost in certain areas. So, but either way, it has proven to be a rather robust vehicle, and it can take quite a bit of punishment, because atmospheric reentry is no joke.
Exactly. You want all of that thermal protection to keep the vehicle at its constant temperature, and you can keep yourself warm and at a constant temperature with our new holiday sweaters available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. It may not be Comet, but it is one of those where you can absolutely stay warm during this holiday season with other space-themed items. We have the Falcon one, quite appropriate here. When you compare the one for Falcon at launch, oh, that launch pad looks a little familiar, doesn't it? Take a look on the left and the right. Yeah, 39A. There you go. You can see the fixed service structure, and you can see Falcon launching from it. I absolutely love that part. So, yeah, it's like for the Office meme. And you show me the two pictures of things, and they're the same picture. So there you go.
I've actually bought that one. That one, I think it's amazing. I actually got last year's, and I thought this is great because the quality was amazing. It is still the best, as we call them over here, jumper, but it's a sweater to most people here. It's the best quality one I've actually got, full stop. I was like really surprised by the quality of it, but that design is the best one we've done so far, I'd say. And I've got that. I literally went and bought it.
Yep, and then the back. So you've got the launch on the front, recovery on the back. So I guess business in the front, parachute party in the back. I don't know. But yeah, you can see that coming down. You see the booster also coming back as well. There's lots of cool little Easter eggs. And of course, I know a lot of you love your Starship stuff. We have the Starship variant as well, with the arms ready to hug the booster and come in for a catch. So as the chopsticks come in for a hug, treat yourself with a warm hug or someone you love this season with one of the sweaters. And of course, we have our entire holiday selection on the shop as well, now with cozy pajama pants with actual photos from Starship on it. It's really cool stuff this year. You got to check out the holiday selection at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And I can say those sweaters are actually really warm. I have one of the ones from a couple of years ago. I wore them to a few launches when it was that cold out, and it was very nice. And Max, it'll be very nice to see your views in a little bit. I know you have one more camera to set up, so I guess Chris and I will shoot the breeze for the last 8 minutes here as we get ready for launch.
Indeed.
Indeed, it is about that time again, everybody. So thank you very much, and I will see y'all on the other side.
Looking forward to it. And also looking forward to this launch. We are now at about 8 minutes to go until liftoff here from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. This, the Starlink 6-78 mission on board 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites. Now, I know many of you out there are probably going to try out and go see the launch. If you do, first off, if you get pictures or videos or anything, send it to us on the socials. We're at Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. So you can send it to any of those. Or, just go out there and say, hey, I saw it. But if you do want to see it, the trajectory for tonight takes us to the southeast, as is kind of the tradition now for these winter launches, especially these recent Group 6 flights. There you go. You can see the launch hazard areas there, the areas right around the launch, and then, of course, the big, giant, whatever shape that is. I don't know how many sides that one is. That will have the drone ship downrange, which tonight is just read the instructions, as well as Bob ready to catch the fairings down there. Hi, Bob.
You know, the interesting thing about the fairings, people don't take that too seriously. They go, oh, it's just the bits at the top. Why did they even bother recovering them? They cost $5 million for fairings. $5 million because they're composites, and they're obviously something that recoverability is what's being mentioned by many people now, is not just the booster, and eventually with Starship, of course, without the fairings, it's going to be the full vehicle, the booster and the upper stage, because the upper stage is the ship. So everything is about reusability these days.
It's, as much as you can reuse, the better. It saves money. And these, I'm sure they appear reflown as well, just based off of the sootiness on them, and they tend to reuse the fairing halves for Starlink missions in particular. Some of those fairings, by the way, have over 30 flights on them as well. There are fairings that have flown more times than the highest flown booster. At this point right now, engine chill has also likely commenced. That happens at about 7 minutes, and that is when they take those 9 Merlin 1D engines and thermally condition them and get them ready for the shock that they are about to experience as the heat and everything runs through them. So getting those propellants primed and ready to go. We are now 5.5 minutes to go until launch. We are getting into the nitty-gritty here. Booster 1080 is currently hooked up to a whole bunch of lines and connections back to the ground, and it's not to that fixed service structure that you see on the left. It's not that big black tower that has all of it. It is that kind of silvery white structure on the right. That is the transporter erector, or strongback. That has connections for data. It has connections for thermal systems. It has propellant lines on it, all kinds of different fill and drain lines. Goes through that one tower. So at about 4.5 minutes, they'll begin the process of retracting that strongback. So there are some clamps underneath the fairing halves that will open up, and it goes back a whopping 1.8 degrees. It will then throw all the way back, of course, right before launch to get out of the way. But in doing so, it kind of gets it out of the way for the worst of the blast, and also there are fewer cables that are exposed when it does retract all the way. So if your lines get burnt, you're only replacing a small amount, not the, crazy long lines that you might have at, say, Vandenberg.
Strongback
Well, at
retract
least
has started.
SpaceX comms.
There we
There's
go. And
retract.
it's underway, so we'll see those clamps open up. You were going to say?
I was going to say, the Easter eggs to look out for, one is obvious. One is that fixed service structure is the historical fixed service structure. They just revamped it. The only thing they changed was the launch escape system, which they moved up half a story on the tower. But the other thing is the actual water tower itself. People will get caught out by it looking like it's leaking at about T-minus 1 minute. It's not leaking. It just doesn't have sensors. They never designed to have sensors. So the one way they know it's full is to fill it to the brim and get to the overflow. And when they see the overflow spilling out, they know they filled it.
It's one of those where you know it's full when you hit the top and it leaks out. So at that point, the strongback does appear to be retracted. Next up, we will start to hear the callouts of them wrapping up propellant load. Again, they use RP1, rocket propellant 1, the refined form of kerosene, in both stage 1 and 2. And the oxidizer, as the name would suggest, is liquid oxygen in each of them. So you'll hear the callouts for RP1 and LOX load complete on both stage 1 and stage 2. For those unaware, of course, stage 1 is the bottom part right before that black, and including that black interstage. And then there is stage 2 above that, which has the fairing halves and the satellites atop. There are now 3 minutes to go. You can see it retracting just a little bit more into its final spot there on
Stage
the
1 LOX load is
TE.
complete.
And there we go.
And stage 1
Liquid oxygen fully loaded into stage 1. So far, everything proceeding in the count. A couple of big things that we'll see, of course, will be at 1 minute when Falcon 9 enters startup and the onboard computers take control of the count, as well as tanks pressurized and flight levels. T-minus 45 seconds, we will hopefully get the go for launch from the launch director, or as we saw in the last launch, someone on behalf of the launch director. At about T-minus 7 seconds, you can see those sort of black towery things at the base of the vehicle. Those are part of the Rainbird system. It's a water deluge system that will activate. And then a few seconds after that, there will be a green flash of a substance known as TTEB, triethylaluminum triethylborane. That is what ignites those 9 Merlin 1D engines. They will ramp them up, and hopefully at T0, we will see a liftoff. 2 minutes to go. We should be getting callouts of the final propellant
Stage 2
loads.
LOX load is complete.
There you go, right on time. Stage 2 LOX load complete. The next thing that we will start to see is the gas closeout lines. So all those lines that have been providing propellants and gases and everything to the vehicle, they will basically vent out one last time, purge any remaining gases that are in them, because you don't want giant clouds of, oxygen and RP1 or anything basically that could be flammable hanging around
Ground
your
gas
vehicle
closeouts has started.
with 9 engines going through it. So closing out all those gas lines, and you will see and hear a little bit of that venting purge. So now we are about 10 seconds away from startup on Falcon 9. Our clock is a couple seconds ahead just because ours is more real time. SpaceX has a little bit of latency, but let's listen in and hear if we get Falcon 9 entering startup.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
All right, there we go. Onboard computers now have control of the countdown. The onboard tanks are also pressurizing to flight levels. Next up, in a couple seconds, should be that call of go for launch.
Launch director, go for launch.
There we go. The actual launch director tonight making the call. Falcon 9 and the 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites are go for launch. 30 seconds until liftoff from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. I'll, of course, be quiet after it launches. Once you can enjoy the sound, it does take a couple seconds for the sound to hit our microphones a couple miles away. So keep an eye out now for the Rainbirds activating at the base. That'll be followed by the flash of the engines. And we have ignition and liftoff. Falcon 9 Starlink 6-78 and the 100th flight this year from the Space Coast. And it has cleared the tower. Beautiful crackle from that thick air tonight. 1 minute, 20 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 blasting through max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure, pushing down against the vehicle. And now 90 seconds into flight. Everything looking good. And that thick air providing a beautiful sound tonight. And now comes the beautiful views that go with it as well. As it gets into the thinner parts of the atmosphere, as it works its way uphill, you will start to see the plume expand outward, and you'll be able to actually make out those 9 engines, potentially, as it goes up. And of course, as the oxygen gets less, the color will get more blue. And that's when we get these gorgeous colors right before 3 events in rapid succession. Starting off with MECO, main engine cutoff. That will be followed right by the separation of those first and second stages. And then shortly after that will be SES-1, second engine start 1, when the upper stage Merlin vacuum engine will ignite. And we should be coming up right now on MECO. There it is. Next up will be that first and second stage separation. And we should be able to see there that flash and ignition of the upper stage. Here it is from SpaceX's view, a couple seconds behind, as I mentioned earlier, because of the latency between their views and ours. Beautiful ignition on that upper stage. The first stage will continue its upward trajectory at this point as those grid fins come out, and will eventually work its way down towards the drone ship tonight. Just read the instructions located downrange for the booster to land atop. Now, as it gets up thinner, again, kind of see that expansion more. What we can also see there are the fairing halves falling away. As we were just talking about before launch, the ones that protect the satellites, those will actually come back down. They have parachutes and thrusters on them. They will then splash down in the Atlantic Ocean, where recovery ship Bob is downrange to scoop them up and then bring them back to Port Canaveral, where they will then be refurbished and flown again and again. And again, that expansion there, not quite the jellyfish effect that I know a lot of us have been missing. Too late for that, and the moon not in the right position, but you still obviously can see that plume expansion on that stage too as it worked its way uphill. 4 minutes now into flight. Absolutely spectacular. Right now, we should be coming up on the point where that first stage is reaching the apogee of its trajectory, the highest point of its planned arc. So once it does that, the speeds are continuing to slow down. The altitude rises. At that point, it will then even out. Right at about 113 kilometers, you see the speed stopped. And it should be picking up. There you go. Speed's going up, which means the rocket is going down. And it is on its way towards the drone ship now. The highest point, usually about 113 or 114 kilometers up. Still at 7,000 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, stage 2 about to hit 11,000 kilometers per hour, 140 kilometers in altitude. Falcon 9, an absolute beast. So next up, that will be working its way down. But of course, it is going to have to slow itself down before landing, and it does that with 2 different burns. The first is the entry burn, and the second, of course, being the landing burn itself. The entry burn, as I like to say, is fighting fire with fire. So it will start with a single engine, followed by the ignition of 2 more, so 3 total engines. And then it will basically use the envelope of flame around it as it flies down through it to sort of protect itself from those atmospheric conditions, act as a mini heat shield of heat to get through the thickest part of the atmosphere, the thicker parts, of the atmosphere there. That burns usually about 20 seconds or so. And of course, our team on the ground, I know, will keep their cameras aimed at it. And if you are out there watching it, if you have a view of the horizon and you're towards the south-southeast, keep an eye out. You may actually see the entry burn in just a couple seconds. So if you look on the left side of your screen, any moment now we should be seeing that engine ignition. And it'll be very obvious once it switches to those 3 engines. It goes from basically a kind of circular plume to a more rectangular plume. All right, here we go. There's the graphic, which means we should be seeing the ignition any second now. There we go. There's 1 engine. And there's the other 2. So now we have 3 engines firing as it works its way downhill. You can see that speed rapidly is going to be bleeding off. The altitude now 40 kilometers up. And to shut down, it will go back down to a singular engine and then off, as we saw from the graphic and now from the video. There we go. Shutting down. Now 4,700 kilometers an hour, which still seems crazy fast, as you can see by the plasma going through those grid fins there. Those grid fins are about ready to put in their hard work, as they will then help steer Falcon 9 towards the deck of the drone ship as the air gets thicker. Of course, there's also the steering on the engines themselves, thrust vector control, basically gimbaling or steering the engines. Of course, the grid fin's there to help. Now keep an eye out. Usually on the leftmost grid fin, you can start to see a light popping up there, and you can kind of see it. That little dot before it lost reception with it, that is the light from the drone ship. Just read the instructions, as it is now 10 kilometers in altitude above it, now down to about 1,300 kilometers an hour. Meanwhile, stage 2 on the right side, now about to hit 20,000 kilometers an hour, 145 kilometers in altitude.
Sawyer,
Hi, Max. We are coming up on the landing burn here,
I can see that.
which will be the single engine burn, just one Merlin engine that will ignite. And we should see that any second, 3 kilometers in altitude now.
There
And there it is.
Jinx.
Jinx, you owe me a launch. Through the clouds. You can see those grid fins doing their steering. There's the view from on board. Just read the instructions. Landing legs deployed. And touchdown. Not only does that make 100 successful launches from the Cape this year, but that marks almost all but one launch that has landed this year successfully from the Cape, including one New Glenn vehicle as well. Unbelievably beautiful. We should be coming up on SECO 1, second engine cutoff 1, when the Merlin vacuum engine shuts down, as we see there.
Insertion.
And that's what we want to hear. Nominal orbital insertion. They put it right where it needs to be, right on the bullseye. Absolutely spectacular. There is a second ignition that we obviously will not be able to see, and that's only 1 or 2 seconds anyway, and that's later into flight before they deploy them. Max, how was that tonight as we see some replays already?
Well, I tell you what, they launched at just the right time because there is a crazy amount of fog now washing over us here at the press site. Like the VAB, the base of the VAB is now starting to get washed over. There's lots around my head and over the buildings around us now. It's actually getting kind of spooky. And I've lost literally all visual of LC-39A. But you know what? That actually made the scene all that much more beautiful. And I have a camera on top of the hut right now that was framed kind of wide. And hopefully the light from all 9 Merlin 1Ds would illuminate somewhat the foreground, hopefully full of fog. It was rather beautiful, I do have to say. And because the air is so thick with moisture right now, it carried the sound so well. And as I often say, that was incredibly punchy. And we really felt that here, certainly in our chests, in our clothes, in our shoes, pretty much everywhere. It was amazing. And that is why LC-39A is such a treat to watch launches from, especially from here, because we are so much closer than compared to Slick 40.
Oh yeah, much closer. And also, I mean, it really did light up. We'll see it in the replays from one of the cameras that we had atop the hut. Max, you'll be able to see just how it ignited, or I should say ignited, how it lit up, I should specify, the fog, because obviously it's not igniting the fog.
Yeah, there's a lot washing over now. It's actually it's spooky, but also really, really pretty.
Yeah, it's about 21 days too late for Halloween, but oh well.
It's been 21 days since then already? Jeez Louise, time's flying.
I know. And then you could see there even some of the fog from our fleet cam. This, of course, the camera that we have atop Rusty's at the port, which is a great place to grab a bite to eat and, of course, to watch the launches from, too. So if you're ever in town, not sure where to eat, not sure where to see boosters come back, go ahead and check it out. And while you're there, if you look really closely at the top, you'll see some of our fleet cameras sticking out. But that really turning the night into day tonight. I know we say that, but that really helps a lot extra tonight. And this from one of the other views as well. I'm so used to the other framing where it's set for 40. We see so many of those.
Perfect example. Look at that.
Chris, we need to get you down here for one, I'm telling you.
I know. By the way, I do believe breaking news in Breaking Space, we've got a video on the New Glenn news that's just come out. I'm going to spam chat because I like to spam chat with my ultimate powers as an admin on here. Let me just go 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a video for you all to watch after this launch broadcast is finished.
Oh, look at the fog.
Wow.
Yeah, told you, Max. It gets really great. Check out the shot.
This be it. Oh, that is pretty. Holy cow, that is pretty.
Oh, there's one more, Max, that we showed on air during the launch that is my favorite with the zoom out. But yeah, the fog tonight, not a paid actor, although it seems like one.
It does seem like one, but I'm also looking at the thumbnail for the latest Breaking Space video, and oh my god, New Glenn looks absolutely just stretched to oblivion, it looks like.
Yeah, with an almost 9-meter fairing on it, 9 engines. It's a beast. As we talk about 9 engines with Falcon 9 as we see here. It's like, oh wow, that's pretty bright. That's pretty cool. Yeah, now add something that is the size of Starship almost with 9 larger engines as opposed to the 33 Raptors. Both still very impressive. But yeah, that video now out on Breaking Space. It was written and recorded by Ryan Caton, mostly edited by me, and then Ryan coming in as I had to jump in on the launch as we got some brand new renders that just came in. So if you haven't seen those yet, you'll have to check it out in the video. But in the meantime, still some gorgeous replays here. And again, the VAB there with the fog at the bottom. I mean, again, paid actor, I'm telling you.
Yeah, we get maybe 5 nights like this a year, and that includes both winter, I should say January, February, late winter, early springtime as well, which is when this mostly happens. But when it does happen, oh my word, it can either be really pretty or you won't literally see a thing at all.
They can barely see the car driving through it. And I
Yeah,
see someone in the chat saying 9x2, 9x4, 4 upper stage engines for New Glenn.
So sort of similar to SLS Block 1B, but not. It is, but it's not. Same, but different.
I don't know. Could it eventually be used for Orion? Are they going to maybe do some vertical stacking on it? There's already talks of, as we know, with the subcooled propellants, like we see for Starship and for Falcon. Could we see it also maybe stacked like a Starship?
I don't know.
You have to watch the video and find out. There's some really cool details in it. This is the shot, Max. Check this out.
Oh my word! Oh yeah. Okay, I'm super excited now. That's gorgeous.
Right over the water. It looks almost like a drone shot, but it's
my
not. That is one of our
gosh.
robotic cameras operated by our Space Coast Live team.
Oh my gosh, is that stunning or what? Holy cow!
It looks like it's from another world almost.
Okay, so this is not shade, I promise, but this looks like one of those shots from Vandenberg where it was climbing out of the fog from a distant camera. And here's my track, I believe. Yeah, look at that. The way it just climbs out.
Oh, that's amazing. And this one, I believe, has the sound with it.
It should.
Oh, that thick air. It really does make a difference. The humidity levels makes all the difference. Sometimes as bad as cloudy launches are, they get the reverberation off of the cloud ceiling, but when you just have that thick air too, it kind of just lingers. Chris, I will drag you out kicking and screaming to get you over here.
Good luck.
Worth it. Challenge accepted. Oh, man. Doesn't get old, Max. It doesn't get old.
It really doesn't, especially when you have any sort of conditions like this. Genuinely gorgeous, albeit kind of spooky, kind of eerie, but so it was absolutely gorgeous.
And we got a check back in from ODST Moody. You may remember earlier in the stream saying that they were out at one of the bridge viewpoints for their first ever launch. And the $5 super coming in saying, yeah, that was awesome, all caps.
Awesome.
Even saw the entry burn just over the horizon. See, always got to look out for it. You might see it. That rumble is fantastic. Now I just got to see a starship. Me too, Moody. Me too. But thank you for the support, and so glad you got to see your first launch and that it was spectacular. Also spectacular, this shot here from Julia Bergeron out in the field. And she added a note with this one that was really good. Basically saying that she couldn't see the pad and moved the framing as it launched, which is impressive. Not the first time any of us have done that. I know I've done that too. But wow. Yeah, exactly. You look and it's like, oh my gosh, it's in the slightly wrong spot. Quick move, press the button or fire the trigger, whatever you use to activate it. Unbelievably beautiful too. And again, there is actually a little boardwalk kind of jetting out there on the right side. It's hard to see. It's in the fog, but it's there. And there we go. You could see half of an empty pad, at least the part that isn't covered by the fog. Absolutely beautiful.
It sure is. Holy cow, yeah. I think from one of the previous camera angles, that was from one of our hut cameras, and that's about 45 or 50 feet above my head. And even from then, the fog was starting to get in the way of the bottom of the launch pad, and that shows you just how extreme and how thick the fog is beginning to get at the moment. Might make driving home a bit tricky, but that's why we just got to be careful.
Yeah, we need you to stay safe, Max. But Max Evans, thank you for rolling out tonight and providing us the fantastic views.
Pleasure as always, everybody, and thank you very much for coming to hang out with us on this very late Thursday night, almost midnight now. But it is a pleasure as always bringing everyone these views, and for everyone who is watching at home or watching in person, we hope to see you again very soon.
The man, the myth, the legend, the founder, the space shuttle expert himself, Chris Bergen, thank you for hopping on too.
My pleasure, Sawyer. Thank you.
I have to give a shout out to the Space Coast Live operators. Again, that zoom out shot with the fog, all of that work was from people working remotely to bring those views. Absolutely stunning. So thank you for that. Thank you, Carson, for producing and calling those shots to bring those gorgeous views. And don't forget, we have a brand new Breaking Space video out now. If you want to stick around and hear the music, we'll send it to you right after. It is spectacular, in my opinion. Just the detail of the upgraded Blue Origin New Glenn 9x4 is really cool. So go check that out. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for this evening's launch broadcast. Thank you as always for joining us, and we will see you on the next one.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Say again, FD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?